Yo, what's good, everybody, and welcome back to the Rock and Beards podcast. It is episode 27. It's your boy HSR. We got this guy back.
What's up, Syd?
And then he showed up again.
I'm here because I don't want to get fined.
Anyway, it's Jay. And this week, there was... I don't know. I just move on sometimes.
It's a sports reference.
So... this week there was virtually nothing that came out there was albums that came out.
We didn't care.
Yeah, that's the truth. So we went back to the classic idea because we wanted to go in and...
Their classic idea.
Syd was very enthusiastic about choosing this epic endeavor. Did you?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, I didn't choose this one.
Oh, so, okay.
That's actually why I'm here. When I choose it, I'm not here, you know?
All right, so I mixed up. Anyway, American Idiot, Green Day. True.
Woo!
So if you don't care about anything in particular and y'all just want to skip ahead to the review,
like and subscribe either way.
Hit the show more.
Unless you already skipped it and you didn't hear what he just said. In which
And like
case,
and
nothing
subscribe
is real,
again.
Nothing matters. Everything is
all of that
obsolete.
stuff. Hit the show more. You'll see all the links in the description. You can holler at us.
What kind of links would be in the description?
Well, as an example, you can see a track list with when that specific song will start. In addition to that, I linked to a couple of fun Rock Critic videos on Green Day in general because I thought they were very informative. In addition to that, a link to my song because I put out a song. Anyway, stuff like that. I try not to swear.
you're gonna link to my new page that I just launched that I haven't invited anyone to yet.
Yeah,
I've got a new page.
Once you provide me
It's
the
creepy
link.
as
It'll
hell.
be linked down there.
All right, and then
He's just staring and smiling up at us.
so let's get it back to the Green Day talk. All the stuff that you might care about is down there is what we're trying to say.
When
Yeah.
did you first experience, I like, when you experience, like, what's that thing like,
Relax yourself.
no, but really, what did you like about Green Day? What was your first experience like with Green Day? Like,
Well, my first experience with Green Day happened in the early '80s when I was but a wee lad on the streets of Montreal, and
when I was going
it
through Bethlehem.
I heard American Idiot, and I was like, oh yes, that refers to George W. Bush.
Yeah.
And actually, it doesn't, right? Because this album is a story. It is fiction.
Yeah. We could talk about the song when we get there. But so it was American Idiot that brought you in?
To Green Day?
Yeah.
Yes and no. I mean, I had heard Basket Case. I had heard Basket Case in that one Weird Al polka,
Yes.
where he polka-fies it. And I'd
That
heard
was
the real
great.
thing, and I liked it a lot. And, you're growing up, you hear Green Day on the radio, right? When I come around, you hear Minority, all these
The
songs.
thing is, I didn't hear a lot of Green Day on the radio. I heard it kind of there, but I didn't know it was Green Day.
Oh yeah, okay, fair enough. So
Like-
Time of Your Life, you heard that and you're like, oh, that's that acoustic song that's on the radio a lot.
But then, what happened, for me at least, American Idiot came out, and I got really into it, so I got the album. And
but
then I went, the
Americans-
internet also was starting to pick up then. Google was kind of trending as a thing. So I started looking into Green Day's discography. I got international super hits also. And then you realize they did that one, and that one, and that one. And
that one.
honestly, if you look at Green Day's career as a whole, it's a lot of that experience. And
They're one of the bands that defined, I think, a sound for a generation. I mean, you look at when they came out, right, with them, The Offspring, Blink-182, and then you look at the years from 1999 to 2006, and you look at Fall Out Boy, Good Charlotte, Yellow Card, My Chemical Romance, all these bands that took
they all broke up.
essentially Green Day's sound and made it the sound of
true.
those 6 or 7
and
years.
just to make it abundantly clear, if there's any question about timing, Green Day didn't just come out with Dookie. Dookie is their third or fourth album in, and actually in the late 80s is when I Come Around actually came out. It's fascinating to see the impact they had on creating the sound that would take over after grunge died. That's a good way to look at it. In at least the Americas, we can limit it there.
Yeah.
Because
Anyway,
in Latvia, they're still jamming to this.
but then
In my house, I'm still jamming to this,
I really love
which is in Latvia.
Well, this album's great though, The American Idiot. I listened to it practically every day for months when I was in high school. It was one of those albums you listen to when you're dealing with life, and you can relate to it. Just on a general topic, apparently it was written to be about specific things, but ambiguous enough that literally anyone could connect to any song for any personal reason you have and whatnot. And I thought it's interesting, and it's also the first ever punk rock opera.
Rock.
I mean, apparently, first ever successful punk rock opera.
It's debatable. I mean, it depends your how wide your definition of punk rock opera is.
Obviously.
Because I mean, you know, there were albums that this took inspiration from, like Tommy, by the Who. There was what's that one Queen album?
I'm not sure.
Night at the Opera.
Okay. I mean, modern punk rock opera. Can we say that then? Given the bands that you listed.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll go with that. And
Thank you, Captain Obvious.
then it like turned into the fucking the musical and everything, and you know, it's huge. It was like unescapable for a very, very long time, and I think it's a profoundly interesting album that I can't wait to get into more detail.
What do you think of the cover?
Wait, what about you, Jay?
I don't know, because I'm not here, obviously. Thanks,
yeah.
jerk.
I'm sorry, Jay.
No, it's okay. I hate you.
know, he might not be as enthusiastic, but he exists.
No, Green Day is Green Day.
All right, you hate it. We get it.
I don't hate it. I just, I'm not a big fan of Green Day. It's not a bad thing. The CD is great, though.
All right.
Yeah, but I like you know what? I'm not a real, I'm a fanboy in this sense. I like the singles.
Okay, what
Pretty
about
much.
the cover? How do you feel about
Okay,
the
so
cover?
that's what I wanted to talk about. This is where I got it. So when I looked at the cover, I went kind of like, I'm going to be nerdy on this. Didn't look at anything, just looked at the picture. And I'm going to use Syd's shirt right now. So what I thought was the heart, the grenade of the heart is the people, we as the people. And the hand is the oppression from the government. And it's just squeezing us, squeezing all the blood and life out of us until we blow it up.
That was pretty good.
Thank you. Surprising sometimes, eh?
It's very graphic.
I was like, all right, Jay. I got a kind of similar feeling, actually. But maybe a little on the more self-destructive side than the government oppressing, but similar idea.
I love how this appeals to the emo kids still to this day. I mean, it's a bleeding heart and a bomb in a hand. Like, you don't get much more sad, crying teen than this album. I mean, I love this cover because it's really simple, right? Like, it's catchy to the eye. It's not something that you see and it's red and white. Like, it's two colors.
An excellent thumbnail.
It makes an excellent thumbnail. It's the kind of thing that's really it's multi-purpose, right? They used it on the tour, it was in all the videos and yada yada yada, and they used it for their live Bullet in a Bible.
Well, it's a perfect thing
DVD.
because a lot of taggers can use that. It's like a perfect thing for like that.
Yeah, that's it. It's very youthful. It's very
very.
But then if you like couple that with the title, like you just couple it with the title American Idiot, it's like that's the representation of the American Idiot, the image that you can see right next to it.
I disagree with that.
Okay.
And my reason why is because I'm gonna make I'm not trying to make a dumb joke, but if I'm thinking of an American Idiot at that time, 2004, the best picture would probably be a picture of George W. Bush.
Yeah, and so if we're taking your point of view on it's his hand squeezing our hearts, that's the American Idiot's heart, then I think they tie together between our ideas, Jay.
Don't you love how history is just repeating itself? We had one idiot back then, and now we have another idiot running in office.
I felt like an interesting theme before I guess we go into the specifics is how modern this album felt in terms of subject matter.
If it came out, it could be I would re-release this in a couple of years.
Like,
it probably would have the same.
That's the thing, right? A classic album is classic
just
because
to put it out there, somebody's greenlit the movie adaptation of the musical.
Oh my God! Thank God.
So that's coming, Jay. It's getting re-released at some point.
So first off, if there's going to be a movie in this, it's probably going to bomb.
Well, you got to understand, it was one of the most successful musicals.
What?
But movies like this.
You're right. He's right, though. Think about it. Name one really good movie adaptation of a musical.
Yeah. Wait, the producers? Rent?
Rent was not a great movie.
Rent was shit.
But it didn't bomb.
The producers were shit.
Stop swearing. But yeah.
The producers...
Was poop?
Yeah, it was poop.
Both of the producers' movies are amazing.
I never saw the producers' movies myself. I do think Rent was some poop. Okay, either way. Let's get into
Mamma Mia.
Every Disney movie.
You can't know.
That's
you
another
can't. That's
subject.
a cheap.
Those aren't
cheap.
actual like live Broadway presentations.
They
are now.
After.
That's not the same order.
No.
I'll fight you. I'll fight you in the street.
Syd, don't be an American idiot.
Oh. Back from that few little millisecond breaks. To us, it was a couple of minutes, but to you, it was a few seconds.
All right, thank you, Jay. This is
American Idiot.
This is one of the best starts to an album ever. Like, I feel like it's got the perfect energy to, like, everything that follows makes sense. It's got... Who doesn't like this song? I'm certain there's people out there. I know
think
there's
there are
people
tons
out
of
there.
people that don't like this song.
But
I think there are a lot of people who don't like this song more on principle than on the actual...
Okay. Well, let's like straight like that. Like, it's just so catchy. It's powerful. Then it just gets hard. Like, it comes in. You can mosh to this. You get pumped to this. And lyrically...
You're stealing my shtick, man.
Sorry.
Comes in, does its thing. You can mosh to it. It's short, it's punchy.
I'm sorry, but, like... When
It's
it comes to a song like this,
it has enough energy
and
to
it's got enough punk appeal to be cool like that, but it's got enough polish on it to be appealing to somebody like me who likes a sound engineer, and like, its lyrical subject matter is weirdly still relevant today in 2017 after
Look,
all
it's
this
a
time.
fun song. It's like you said, it is the perfect song to start it off. It has the energy, it has the flow, it keeps you interested. Like, the only thing is it has a lot. You know what? It kind of takes away from all the funness of the song is the message behind it in a way, because sometimes it's one of those songs that if you don't listen to it more than once, you probably don't get the message right away, because it's so upbeat, it's so fast going.
I don't know. The first line is "Don't want to be an American idiot." I feel like it's one of those songs where you're curious. I don't care who you are. You hear that lyric.
If you don't know,
but in any of the last 20 years, right? And you hear somebody say, "I don't want to be an American idiot." It's like, wow. And at the time, it's like somebody just admitted it. Somebody just like said it like out loud. I don't want to be an American idiot, like anymore at least. Like you almost heard that word appear after it. Like everyone was being duped, and it really criticized something that's still prevalent and almost prophetic in nature. The way that almost state media is controlling the influence and opinions of so many people.
Well, of course, because you have parties that control news.
But
and that's one of the biggest issues we have now in 2017. Is like you can't go on like Fox and be a part of another party because you're only going to hear pro party this, and then you go to another one, you hear pro party that. There's no really free air on TV, free air news that's biased to either one.
I almost believe that's kind of what this song's about. In 2005 or 4 or whenever it came out.
Well, that's of course, because look at that. You got to think of that situation that was going on there. We had a good hope for a different start, and then look at them. They got screwed over and they reelected an idiot.
Well, I think anyway.
An American idiot.
But anyway, and then I think it's striking how like the whole lyric. Maybe I'm the F word, America. I'm not a part of your redneck agenda.
Not the F word that you're thinking.
Yeah,
of,
the
it's
other one.
F word.
So, but I never really got that line until recently. And if you really look at the conversation between the redneck, what they would say is, "Don't be a," like they're just a bunch of. And then you got to consider
British
that is a word that they call those ignorant rights tend to call the left people British cigarettes. And it is.
We're really not going to say that word because of that?
Seriously, yes. Unfortunately, we're learning to censor ourselves, podcast people.
Yeah, we're trying to be professional.
We want to like upgrade the facilities, which requires better product. Anyway, so
this is gonna be hard.
This song ultimately is super relevant in 2017, which is fascinating because to write a song that accidentally and unfortunately became ageless is right.
It brings up a good question. If he would drop this song out today, would he be looked into a different way because he used that word?
Yes, he would have been attacked for it.
Yeah. I guess,
And honestly, but I think his sexuality would have been brought into question because at the time he was still in his bisexual phase.
But it's interesting because okay, look at Eminem, right? Eminem got attacked for using that word.
He still does.
He still does, but he got attacked way back in the 90s
for
using that word. And then to defend himself, he went and performed a song with Elton John. Right, who was like the king of gay people.
To point out, there's a serious difference between the use of the word, right? So like Billy here is using the word basically satirizing actual events. Like this is the language used by this group of period, and then he opposes it with redneck using the other side of the fence's words, creating.
But what I'm saying is there's an interesting dichotomy of, guess there's an interesting time loop. You see how time circles back around where like today it wouldn't be okay for him to have released this word today after somebody else had then made it okay to use that word in context after he had been attacked for using that word for what people perceived as an attack on a group of people. So you see how things work circularly and how people will get offended without even looking into the context, without even really doing any sort of minimal research into what the song is trying to say.
So I'm not going to try to jump off
I think
track
that is a
completely.
fairer point because because people aren't going to look into what the song has to say more. They're going to take it at a face value and not care.
Yeah.
That's the fairest thing I think you said there.
The thing I want to bring up is, like, just imagine we're talking about the first song and it's bringing up so many questions in 2017. So that's why it makes it a classic. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of them. I don't think they're bad or anything. It's just my genre of music wasn't this.
Right.
I'm getting into this now, and I'm learning all these wonderful things and seeing all these new bands, and I really like it. I like the questions it's bringing up and everything, and that shows the success compared to other bands.
Yes.
Once you can have a CD, if like a CD comes out in the 70s and we're still talking about it today, you know you made it.
Right. And I just got to say, musically, at the time when this was a single, and I'm not going to lie, I skipped the music videos because of how much there was to talk about. We can maybe just talk about the videos another day. I think this was green slime and they played instruments. And like...
That was TVs and stuff. A lot of pictures of Bush on TVs.
Yeah.
And...
Redneck agenda.
But it got played so much at the time, I found the song a little bit annoying.
Well, that's because radio killed, like...
Right.
Radio killed
but
the
listening
last DJ
to
or
it
something.
now...
And then video killed the radio star.
That's true. But after all this time of not hearing this album, hearing it, it is like my excitement. This is a clear 5 is where I was going with this. I would say it's one of the strongest starts to the albums of any album we've heard thus far. And I don't know that we're going to hear one that fits so perfectly anytime soon. You know, like it's great.
Another thing to bring up is, like we were trying to say before, it's a rock opera. So
Right.
this is one of those CDs you actually have to listen from start to beginning to see the whole story.
Mm-hmm.
And
So-
I think this fits the motif as a tone setter for the world of the protagonist.
Sydney, what did you give it?
Oh, I give it a 5.
Thank you. I give it a
Awesome.
5 too.
So I guess we can learn more about the tale of our Jesus of Suburbia. This song. Okay, Syd, just start. I know you're bursting.
I actually wasn't. I was gonna let you do your thing, but since
Finish creaming yourself
since you
and
passed
get
the
done.
baton, the 5 songs featured inside Jesus of Suburbia.
It's one song.
It's 5 songs. Are
5 parts.
actually this is okay. Since the moment that I heard this song, this has been the bar to which I've measured all other extremely long songs to, which really isn't fair because
Really?
it is not the same format as say someone like Dream Theater or like Opeth or
Do you know? I agree with that because it works. I am interested.
Stairway to Heaven.
No, it's boring.
Freebird.
No, it's
Give me
boring.
Stairway to Heaven and Freebird.
No, it's for real.
You're gonna give me the meme of the live concert show. That's what you're gonna throw at me.
Like seriously, Freebird is like you listen to the solo and it's great, but then after a while, it's 9
November
minutes of
Rain.
the same. Whatever.
No.
We're talking
great
about
song.
a song
Okay.
here that is, first of all,
And anything by Guns N' Roses, anything by Green Day.
No.
I don't know
Opposite.
about that entirely. That's not a uniform statement, dude.
I know.
Okay,
these
but
are,
look,
these are my opinions.
This is like, I'm going to put it like this. What makes Jesus of Suburbia truly special and epic is within a concept album, it's a concept song that could be its own little concept EP on the side and still work.
Yeah,
It's got
absolutely.
5 parts that sequentially tell a tale of almost self-discovery. It's the realization of guy in a small town, dead end nowhere. Nobody cares about him. He's clearly some kind of a burnout, learning about drugs and all the other stuff. And then he like walks around and just sees how aimless and dead it all is and realizes that not only does his parents and his friends don't care about him, the society doesn't care about him, the city doesn't create opportunities,
Welcome
they don't
to
care
real
about him.
life.
You know what
But
was
that's the point, right? It is supposed to document this real life moment of discovery. And then at the end, he realizes that his charisma and charm gives him some kind of a power to almost be a leader of sorts. And so he's going to break the mold. He's going to be different and he's going to get out. And even within all of this, his defiance and everything, you know he's full of it because he calls this place home.
You know what was really special about this song in terms of just in terms of marketing and in terms of release when this came out on popular radio. So you think about what was popular when this was coming out. There was 50 Cent was all over the radio, Linkin Park and Jay-Z, a lot of Fall Out Boy, a lot of whatever what have you. None of those songs were, they were all standard radio length, and this song, because it was 5 movements, they couldn't cut it, so it got played in its 9-minute entirety.
No, they did do a small cut. I looked into this. They cut out parts of the "I don't care if you don't care" riff in the middle, so they trimmed out like 15 to 30
maybe
seconds.
on some stations. Maybe on some
Right.
stations. I don't know that it got cut on every single one
But,
because I remember
If it's on
jamming
a
out to
pop
this.
star, if it's on
No.
like a Virgin or something, here in
Dude, you don't
Montreal,
understand.
it's-
Let's say 94.7 played this song. They played the 9-minute song
Yeah, they
because
played it all the way
what
through.
can you cut out of the
I
song
was
without
about to
destroying
say
it?
that.
I'm sorry, Jay.
No, I
We're
was about to
sorry,
say,
Jay.
like
We're
if it was
sorry, Jay.
if it was on a station like Show'em or something, you won't touch it. You'll leave it because that's for their
But
genre.
let's
I
say
could
it
see
was on
maybe
a station,
on a pop
like-
station.
But on the buzz, it got played all the way through.
Did it?
Yeah, on the
a-
buzz, it got
dude,
played all the
you
way
don't
through.
understand. On every station,
We're talking about Montreal radio stations.
dude,
Please
the
equate this to
music
your
video,
local.
short version of the music video was still 7 minutes.
Yeah, but 7
The
minutes.
long
so
version
it's
was like 13 minutes.
'Cause it
Oh
was
my god, I
crazy.
hated this music
It
video.
was. We're not going to talk about that. That maybe will be another video.
No,
all
it
on
won't be
its
another
own.
video. I refuse to do a 13
You don't have to
video.
be there. I'll be
Thank
there.
you.
Me and Sid, we got this.
We got this.
All right, but this song.
Bunch of British
Anyway,
cigarettes.
I would like to just point out though that this song is brilliant on multiple levels in terms of still the writing without the instrument talk,
Have
right?
fun with this.
Because this entire song shows this guy trying to adopt the character or envision the embodiment of somebody who doesn't care while caring so deeply, and just all these subtle language hints along the way that if you really look at how Billy wrote it, the guy cares so deeply that he doesn't care, and it's such a well captured emotional experience. And I think a lot of people can relate to having that moment in life where they kind of spin out in their late teens, early 20s, and then kind of embark on it. This is like the starting point of embarking on your downfall before you rise.
Yeah.
And you feel that. You feel his I don't care-ness. And you know it's like this bad news bears because I'm old and I'm a lot lamer now. But back then, I can remember being in that. I don't know. This song is truly remarkable. And then it's the first song I learned to play when I bought a bass guitar because it was just so impressive musically. Like,
Yeah. Well, the thing is, compositionally, like, you really get that sense of scale once you reach. You look at me like that.
okay, go on.
You really get that sense of scale once you reach the end of the song, right? Like, even though it's 5 movements, you feel like you've lived through a story. Once you get to that final that come down, that calm in the storm. I don't feel any shame. I won't apologize. It's just.
You just gotta get into
When it's
it.
just pianos and vocals, and then da-na-na-na-na-na, you're like, sorry, I'm sorry, microphone, I'm sorry, holding
I just
tap,
would like
having
to
to edit
know,
that, I'm sorry, audience, for having to listen to that.
it's okay,
But
let's
you
keep
see what I
it.
mean,
Keep
like.
going.
We're keeping it. Let's go.
All right, what would you like to say?
No, I would like to know what you guys rated it.
5.
5.5.
Okay.
6.
5.5 on
The
5.
first
Can I-
number I wrote was
wait.
6.
For this. Okay. So, first playthrough, I wanted to skip it after 3 minutes. Why? I'll give one good positive right off the first bat. I love the 50s flow. Like, you know, like the Happy Days in the beginning. It was really catchy.
He's the
I
son
enjoyed
of
it.
Rachel Love.
And then eventually it gets too long. I don't care about Jesus of Suburbia by this point.
But it's the primary character of the story.
Oh, what do you freaking do?
But it's a story.
I understand, but
And
you
he's
can-
like the main guy.
If you guys don't like Freebird, fine. I don't care. But eventually you can get bored of a song.
I have never gotten bored of this song ever.
But that's you.
I understand that you
We have viewers here that might agree with Jay.
This is supposed to be subjective.
It
This is
is.
based on our own
Jay,
individual.
this is why we have you on the team. We need somebody to tell us when we're being too.
No,
into
it's
it.
I understand, you know, as a lonely 2 white boys with beards and you're sitting in your mom's house and you're in
I
the
didn't have a
basement.
beard when this song came out.
I was in cadets, so no.
So you're jamming to this and you have, like, I think there was a personal issue I'm not going to go into, but you were really connected to the song at that time. And I can understand that. I've had songs like that too. Like every time I get into a bad breakup or I'm really depressed, there's 2 songs I always listen to. And you're going to make fun of me.
November
I'm gonna
Rain?
No. Kiss from a Rose from Seal.
Oh
Okay.
no.
And
Okay.
Journey.
Don't Stop
Yeah.
Believing.
And those are the 2 songs.
You know
Anytime
what?
I'm in a really
Those
shitty
are really
mood-
good songs for that moment, so I'm not gonna make fun of you.
No, but it's like, you know, you can be like, wow, Jay's a big fucker. Jay's a big lad.
It's okay.
And he could be like,
We're
wow,
gonna
that's
censor
really...
that. Are we gonna
Yeah.
censor that?
Well, we'll see how it goes. We're doing
Okay.
pretty good so
No,
far.
but like I'm saying, like, you know, you look at that and you're like, wow, this dude, like, that's really weird. And that's how I feel with this song. This song can, if it hits you in a chord, I think this belongs to you as a person. But to me, it didn't belong. It was just a story that could have been done in 5 minutes or 3.
I don't know that I agree that the story would have like been the same if you had condensed it, because it really does capture, like, it's almost like if you were to look at this album as a movie, this is maybe several scenes of that movie played
In all
out.
honesty,
But like it really takes the plot from context and moves you through, giving you a sense of who it is.
don't get me wrong. We had Trapped in the Closet for so many videos.
Oh my
If
God.
this was made over Trapped in the Closet, I probably would love it.
Okay.
But listening to it, like, and this is my process. When I listen to it in the car. Then I listen to it with my Beats headphones in my house with the lights off. And then the third, I can't talk because we're trying to censor ourselves.
Anyway, go on.
So, unfortunately, with this song, I tried to love it, but I didn't. I don't say I don't like it, and I'm going to give it a fair mark, and then gave it a 2.5.
You have to keep in mind though, because you are thinking of it as one big song, and it is 5 movements, like they are titled out.
Yes, I understand. It's 5. It is a story. It's a book. It's like
but
it's a
5
short
separate.
story.
It's 5 separate, uniquely titled songs. Like part 2 is called "City of the Damned," and part 3 is called "I Don't Care." So it is like 5 mini songs.
I
So
understand
they almost give you the option. You can look at it as one 9-minute song, or you can look at it as 5 2.5 minutes.
Hold on. Now that I know that, it does change it a bit. But you gotta also remember that.
How are you gonna just listen to one of these parts out of nowhere?
I listen to all.
But that's what I'm saying.
But that's what I'm trying to say.
None
I
of these
listen to
parts
it all.
work absolutely by themselves.
You're
They
telling me
all
in a rap?
know.
Hold on. You're telling me in a song that like a rapper makes a rap. There's not a verse you would rather listen to than all the verses.
Yeah, but
it's
what
like
I'm
any
saying
Juicy
is,
J song.
well, I'm agreeing with that, but I think
J.
in this particular song, I like every single part equally, and none of
And
them
I'm glad
work
you
without
liked
each
it.
other.
And I'm glad you
Look,
like
guys,
it.
we're getting really heated. I think we need a holiday.
I beg to dream and differ. Anyway, I really like this song. I also learned to play this one. This one to me is like, it makes more sense as a single, right?
Yeah.
And
Upbeat,
let's
fast,
bring
happy,
something up.
almost.
Let's just do it now. In the digital re-release, they made slash song versions of these tracks, right? But in the original pressing, I have like track lists. Now Syd is convinced back in the day.
So
Did you find it?
little bit of history. When I first listened to this album all the way through, it was a week before it came out. MTV.com used to have, I don't know if they still have this. I haven't been to MTV.com in over a decade. I'm sure I should. Does it have interesting content?
No.
They used to have this I guess weekly, what do you call it, thing
Teaser?
called
Sure.
The Leak. The Leak, where they would leak an album a week before it came out with the artist's consent, obviously. And American Idiot was one of them. And on that release, a week before the album came out, they were separated like that.
Okay.
Like that. I remember that.
But then, like, I bought this CD and it had 13 songs.
I
Do you have
think
the
you
CD,
keep calling
sir?
it digital re-release. I think it's just always been on digital versions of this album.
You're right. That's a very fair statement. It's just that I don't know that people did what would be called digital releases in 2004 in the same way. So that's
I think
why
they did. I think
LimeWire.
they did. iTunes.
maybe you're right.
Napster.
But either way, so as far as I always knew it was 13 songs. So I just wanted to bring that up and see how y'all remembered it. And if anyone wants to comment and educate us, feel free, because I couldn't find anything on Google to even talk.
We're talking to you,
about
Lindo.
this.
I think what we're saying right now is instead of doing Holiday / Boulevard of Broken Dreams as one song, obviously
yeah,
we're doing
we're
Holiday first,
just
and
Holiday.
then
As
Boulevard
you can
of
see
Broken
by
Dreams
what's written
as
like
we-
right above us here. So
Is it above or is it below?
It's right there.
It's up
like
there?
right there. Yeah.
I can't see it. I can't
It's
see
okay.
it.
This song's great, man. It's like it's almost like it's short to the point. It comes in and punches and stuff, and it does its thing, but it's really fun, right? Like
on
this
my
song.
stick.
I know it's great. It's such a fun song, right? Because if you look at the story, he's now gotten to the big city, and he's found out all this. He's getting charged. He sees all the crazy things going on, and he's rallied. He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna make a difference. I'm a hero." And it's almost like this is your mind on holiday. This in and of itself is a drug, like right. This obsession of trying to make a difference and all this other like stuff that happens when you were younger and you get into political activism in the very beginning of your passionate youth, right?
He's Jenny from the block without working the block.
Sure. That makes sense, I guess. I don't know why. But either way, the song criticizes highly the war in Iraq, obviously, in terms of the last part where the representative of California has the floor and makes a political speech that sounds like some of those rallies we've seen recently, and it's a little eerie.
Yeah, and you know what? It starts off with the word Sig Heil, right? Sig Heil to the President Gasman, and it's like that statement is always going to evoke a very strong emotional reaction
Well, it's
from
because
anyone who
he
knows
made
what
so
it
much
means.
money off of oil during the wars.
Well, it was just also the fact that from their point of view, they saw the trend that the wheels were being put into motion that would lead to somebody like our current situation in the United States.
I think he
DJT.
invested about $2 billion in an oil factory over there, an oil plant.
I don't know.
During the
That's
time?
a little. I don't want to go too much into that kind of speculation, But ultimately, I thought it was really weird how scary that third verse almost sounded in light of 2017's shed of light on the conversation. But it's really cool. It's like he straight up made a great political track here. It's great. It also fits the purpose of this album. I think
it's kind of deceptive in a way, though. Like the tone of the songs, I find a lot of these songs are heavily like when they like his singles are, except for like Jesus of Suburbia. Actually, no, Jesus of Suburbia. In the beginning, it's like very uplifting. With that, like
but you got to consider there are 2 more singles that are the opposite of what you're describing.
No, but I'm talking about the sound. I'm not talking about the lyrics.
Hang on, because you're talking about punk rock, right? So and yes, it's pop punk for all of you internet trolls who are going to attack me. Yeah, punk rock.
That's fine.
Screw you.
We know they're coming.
Excuse me, sir. We're trying to censor ourselves.
Screw is okay. We can say screw.
Yeah, I you know.
And
so a punk rock song is going to be heavy. It's going to be fast. It's going to be vibrant, happy. It's going to sound it. And all of these songs have the quintessential punk rock chords because they have the quintessential Green Day chords,
right?
Which are those that like those are the punk rock chords. You listen to Anti-Flag, you listen to No Effects, you listen to Bad Religion. You're going to hear those chords, and they're all going to be politically charged songs. This was the first time in Green Day's career that they put any sort of emphasis on politics or on anything outside of their own little lives getting stoned.
I would say that we started to see the semblings of that on Warning.
Started to, but that was more about personal stories. I think. But
it was more like the realization, and then this was like the summation of that. And apparently, just on a side note, there was a whole album that was almost ready to be released called Valentines and Cigarettes right before.
Pretty sure they released it as The Network.
Apparently that was proved to not be true, that the Network was not that sound. And anyway, so I looked into that, but the Network was actually just unique music that was not related to that album that got stolen.
If you say so.
An album got stolen.
Yeah.
But
they were ready to release an album that was basically Minority Part 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then all of the tapes got stolen, so they had to start from scratch again, and American Idiot came out of that.
Then there was a fake band called The Network that came out that was clearly them, and they had a fake beef, and it was crazy. And then they recorded American Idiot. But from what I've seen in modern, because I just looked into this, that the tapes of the original album were recovered very recently, and they've been using it to inspire like other newer stuff, not what the Network produced. I don't know. You can be a skeptic.
Because, Green Day have done this a couple times in their career. They did The Network and they did Foxborough Hot Tubs.
Yeah, but Foxborough Hot Tubs was very direct. This is us in a new band. We're just...
I know, and The Network was a bait and switch, basically, because it was Green Day. Like...
With some other guys.
How stupid do you think we are? It was Green Day with their live backing band.
Yeah. And back to Holiday, I guess. I think the track's a banger. I think it's well composed. It's got like a good flow to it. It's really the way it evolves in the bridge and stuff, takes it to a new level, just kind of showing a bit of the reality going on. There's so much here. It never got old to me, even when it was played a lot as a single. I gave it a 5.
You wanna know? Okay.
The only thing I could say was a fun song. I actually enjoyed it, but I'm not gonna give it a 5.
Okay.
I gave it a 4.
And you?
I like the bass line in the middle, the bum 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 bum. That is like one of the quintessential bass lines for beginner bassists. I think it's up there with.
I learned to play it as a beginner bassist.
Give me another one. I'm blanking right now. Anything by Rage Against the Machine or by Chili
Nirvana.
Peppers.
The only bass line I know or any guitar riffs I know is from Deep Purple. So that's
either way.
Yeah, don't. That's the White Stripes. The White Stripes is a quintessential one too.
Come As You Are is a great bass line to start on.
5. It gets a 5.
It's amazing.
The song gets a 5.
And honestly, do you have more to add to this, Jay?
Just like this CD, I'm on a Boulevard of Broken Dreams. Boulevard of Broken Dreams. Pretty good song.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It makes me think,
Grammy for
but
being Rock Song of the Year or something like that.
I like
a couple Grammys for this album, didn't they?
Yeah, they
did.
Yeah. They were nominated.
But this was like the super win song of the Grammys, right?
Yeah, because it's like it has a little bit of like an upbeat tempo, but it's like a serious song.
I think it was up for Song of the Year, but did not win it. But like honestly, this song is a great contrast to Holiday. It's like when it's the opposite. It's like what happens when the high of that holiday wears off and you realize you just got that isolation kicking in.
Well, it kicks in for the story because he was on a high and then he realized it's not going to be that simple. And now he has to really walk, and he's walking alone and he's figuring it
He's
out.
like kind of realizing, and especially if you
Nothing
consider
comes easy.
he's from a small town in a big city, and from what I understand of that experience, and even if you like live in a big city and you just go move to a whole new part of it, you start walking around your neighborhood and you don't know anybody, you don't really know where anything is. You just see like the stars in the sky, and you can almost put yourself there walking with him on this Boulevard of Broken Dreams, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I love Wonderwall by Oasis, and
Oh, come on. When I made that comment to you, you were like, they're totally not the same
What's
song.
that
Blah,
song
blah.
from Bryan
I mean, look,
Adams?
the thing about Photograph by Nickelback is
God.
Oh, goodness.
What's the song about from Bryan Adams where he's talking about singing with his band?
To be
and
fair,
everything?
none of those songs are about the same thing.
You
This
know what I'm
song,
talking about though?
which one?
It's one of his main songs. Everyone, Summer of '69.
I don't think this is the same as that, no.
Kind of has the same type of story, you know, where the guy came from a small town, wants to
Yeah.
make it big, and he realizes it's not
I
going to be
feel
that
like
easy.
Summer of '69 is more of a nostalgic in the future
And
thing.
this is not.
This is more of I'm in the now and I'm experiencing this
But
in the moment.
it's also a small town guy.
You're right. Like, let's say that Summer of '69 is what this guy is singing in 20, 30 years.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what I'm saying. So they're the same guy, maybe, but just at a different point in their
Conspiracy
lives.
theory. We just
Yeah.
created one.
I know, and I mean, when you listen to Don't Stop Believing by Journey, you just
Okay,
you get
thanks, Syd. So I honestly, off the camera, I made that comment to him, and he was so defensive. I'm shocked at this moment.
I'm so happy right now.
All right, anyway.
Okay.
So yeah, the great mashup of,
Living on
what is
Prayer.
it, Boulevard of Broken Dreams and Oasis Wonderwall. You can see them played like right next to each other. And,
You have you ever seen The Axis of Awesome?
No.
Maybe, yes, I know what
Yeah.
you're talking about. But yeah, but that's why it worked.
I
That's,
haven't.
Yeah.
Oh, it's basically they start playing the same four chords and they just sing bloody everything that's ever been a hit ever that sounds like this song. And this is one of those songs that sounds like all the other big hit songs
Yeah.
ever. And
Anyway, off topic. Back to All the Small Things by Blink-182.
so all I'm saying is that in light of
Jimmy
that,
Eat World.
sure, yes. So where I'm going with this is it fits the story, and lyrically it's the most profound of everything you've mentioned.
Lyrically?
In my opinion, it is the most well-written version of this song
Look,
that exists.
I love this song. I love this song when it came out. It hit me right in the feels.
Sorry, of like the ones we mentioned, not of all the ones out there that are this chord structure.
This is the first one that I'm going to say objectively I'm not going to give a 5 to.
Wow, I give it a 5.
You can give it a 5. I love the song. I love. Look, I'm wearing the.
I'm a little
the
bit of an
freaking shirt,
emo
man.
kid inside, man.
It's a 4.
I remember every moment of that part of my life when this song captured that moment.
So, Sid, what did you give it? And
I
what'd
give it
you
a
like-
4.
But can you give in more detail?
Because it's
There's-
every other freaking song.
There's a certain level of cheese.
Like
that-
nacho cheese?
No, but like
blue cheese.
basically you
The
can
blue
go.
cheese is awesome because you put it in
Okay,
names.
like in all fairness, right? My 5 is a little more nostalgia kicking in. Than
You're being a 5 whore right now.
It ends, but not always. It's simple, and there's not a lot to it.
It's
Like
it's
Simple
not
Plan?
it's not even just that. It's look for me, for a power ballad to be worth a 5, it has to connect on a level that doesn't feel as produced as this song does. And I love the song. I'm giving it a 4. It's a great song. I know all the words. I know all
beautiful.
like
Can you sing it to me?
Yes, after.
it doesn't it as an adult, it doesn't tug on my emotional heartstrings in the same way. And
It's
look,
not
for the
nine-
kids,
no,
like
never
this
mind,
song
never
is for the
mind.
kids, right? The song is for the teenagers. It's
I
for the kids going through a breakup in high school. It's
See,
for the kids going through a hard time in
I
high
think
school, and
the
I hear that and I get that.
I don't think that that's entirely true. I think that this album started out for the kids, but now that age is kind of more like mid to late 20s because a lot of us are still that. A lot of us, weirdly enough, all this time later, are still kind of embarking it. Like, this song is about isolation in a new surrounding, if you wanted to boil it down. I don't think this one's about breakups or anything. It's just being alone.
Be that as it may or may not.
Just to
It doesn't
defend
have the immediacy of American Idiot, the song. It doesn't really have the emotional nakedness of, say, the end of Jesus of Suburbia. Over that piano
I would
piano
debate
lick.
that point.
It doesn't have the twists and turns that Holiday does, except for the end. The end is great. The end of this song is great. It gets really heavy.
But
It
I
gets
don't
into that
think
really
it's
strange
supposed
kind of
to.
chord progression.
See, like,
I
for
know.
me, it's like why I'm giving it a 5 is also to take into account as an album. It is excellently placed. It fits perfectly as an extension and a counterbalance to Holiday. And like without it, the album would not be as great. Like,
But as a reviewer, right? Like it's our responsibility to look at it objectively, just
But
as a
I
song, as
objectively-
well as where it's placed on
see,
the
for
album.
me, this is one of the best examples of this song that could ever exist. I think it is like if you're going to want to write this cheesy 4-chord structure type song that this is one of the ones you should really rip off more than a lot of other ones. And I'm thinking it's like a trendsetter. Even if it is following a trend, it managed to stand out in an already done to death trend, and that's amazing to me. I listened to it multiple times this week. Every time it got me in the feels. Maybe you just have to be cheesy to like it or something, but
I don't not like the song. I'm just saying that objectively it's not a perfect song for me, so I can't give it a 5.
That's fair. I think we have now drilled this point to death a little bit. Do you got more to add? You gave it a 4, I believe.
I give it a 4. Are we the waiting, man?
We are the waiting.
Are we the waiting?
Yeah, so this song is cool. It's kind of like an extension, lyrically and thematically, of Boulevard of Broken Dreams, but rather than just discovering the isolation, it's when the isolation makes you start to question the identity. Like, keep in mind, the Jesus of Suburbia, as much as it's a character, it's a choice that this protagonist made to become this person, right? To come to the new land and do this thing. And now he's gotten here, and it has not lived up to his expectations by any means. And he's just feeling the crushing bait, the self-doubt that everything that he believed in was almost a lie. And he just feels like, what, are we just waiting? You know, he's lost, he's floating. And it's just so calm and different than most of the rest of the album. And I think it's beautiful. Like, I get so caught up in this song.
Really?
I love it. Like, to me at this point, like when I put on this album, up until this point, I'm seeing perfection. I think, like, I can feel the movie in my head. Maybe I fill in the gaps with my own life story and it enhances the experience, but it's truly, like, a great follow-up to Boulevard of Broken Dreams for this story. And I just love this song. Again, lyrically, his performance, the pain he's conveying and stuff, I feel it. Like, I empathize a lot with it. I like the simplicity. I like the fact that in the midst of all the heavy, he calms down here and it's good, especially knowing what comes next.
Yeah.
And it's a great, and if you think about this Slash song being a legitimate thing and the counterweights and the balances they put on it, it's as excellent a contrast as to what comes next as Holiday was to Boulevard of Broken Dreams. And I appreciate that coupling of ideas as well. So it's good. It's like the death of, it's not necessarily the death, but the suppression of the character that he created of Jesus of Suburbia in this song. It's the end of it for now, and it's cool. I appreciate that.
Jay's got his glasses on.
All right, sir.
I have nothing much to add to that. From reading and learning about it, it's just this part is basically him kind of questioning everything. He's questioning his sanity. Like, was this a smart move to come here? Was this what I needed to do? Am I really going to be the savior, or am I just another cog in
the wheel?
Oh, there you go.
Wheel, yeah, that thing. Yeah. The bad system of evil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
You
been
don't
blown
like
This
this
away.
was off holding right now.
Oh, boy.
I don't not like the song. I've always felt that it works better as a fragment than as a song,
Yeah.
Okay.
which I think was the intention.
Nah.
As a big anthem, I think it kind of falls a little flat. There's just something missing. There's
I find
that
like they
little
cheaped
extra
out
step.
too, though,
Yeah,
because they tried to make it an anthem with that. Whoa.
that's it. And
See,
it feels like it was trying to be this big stadium-sized anthem, and even live, it still just doesn't get there. You know what I mean? It's not "We Will Rock You." It's not "Pour Some Sugar on Me." It's not up, and it was never meant to be a single, and it is meant to be a piece of this musical venture that they embarked on with this album, and it works. It totally works, but it just doesn't reach those stellar heights yet. So
it
it's
does.
and that's why I knew I was going to make you very angry.
You're
with,
not
with
making me
what I just
angry
said.
because
You're
I
just
can see your
disappointing.
point, but I don't know that I would call it like a stadium. I could see how maybe from a marketing front, yes.
That drum intro, the do da do that runs all through that big and yet super simple. Any 12-year-old
But,
can
like,
play it kind
I
of drum
think
lick, and then
that's
the
kind
are
of the
we
point,
we
right?
are like the big.
But like part of it is the point, right? Because if you take his self-esteem into account, there's a correlation between the vibrancy and complexity of the music and the self-esteem of this protagonist, right? And here he's almost at his driest and his weakest, right, on this album. And the song reflects that in it, and it really works with the follow up. And in this case, I understand how it's hard to look at this as a unique song, but by itself I love it, and with its friend I love it.
What's the marks?
This is a 5, man. This is like I would put my lighter up to this or my cell phone depending on the venue.
Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go as low as a 3.5 on this one.
Oh, not
2.5.
even okay. Oh, you guys are. You know what? St. Jimmy would not appreciate any of this.
He's not really.
That was a joke, by the way, for you watching. That was supposed to be a pun.
So this song, St. Jimmy, from what I understood, it's his. He makes a split personality.
Yeah, I mean,
and he goes down a deep path, and he's like, I need someone to drown out. I need someone to take out and party out and be able to do everything that I'm too afraid to. I need to lose myself into this image because everything right now is just spiraling out of control.
Yeah, he just kind of sheds his past and embraces in this new character of like, it's almost like in that Rick and Morty episode that just happens, and it's like he shut off his negativity and went on.
Sounds like Fight Club, no?
Then like the new, I don't know if any of you watched the latest one.
I did.
So if there's spoilers, my bad. And you should go watch that, and you'll see the comparison. So I don't go too much further.
Not paid for by the creators or distributors.
No, it's just a great show. Go watch it if you haven't. And it really shows it's like he sheds off all of his fear and his insecurity, and he just loses himself. But he doesn't just. You can almost see like he truly, for the first time, stops caring. Whereas previously he was caring. This actual St. Jimmy character is when he stops caring entirely and just runs like on this hedonistic pursuit of escapism and other such things. Like it almost seems aimless. Like he's just ready to take on the world as a new person.
Yeah. I mean, this is really the quintessential speed punk song. Like it comes in like and then it evolves and it has that little solo and lyrically I feel like St. Jimmy almost plays kind of like a Peter Pan type of character. Welcome to the club and give me some bud. I'm the resident leader of the Lost and Found. Almost like the Lost Boys, fighting against the man and fighting against the parents and fighting against. And I mean, again, this album is really for disenfranchised teenagers who don't feel like the world is the way it's supposed to be and are angry about it and are looking for...
I'm telling you, all of you 20s, go listen to it now. You're still going to feel it.
You're still going to love it. Probably. We're not going to tell you what to do except Holden wants you to watch Rick and Morty and
yeah, I'll tell you what album. I think. I think that's what you should do. But I realize now in hindsight it's also got the element of him becoming a leader in his little community of underlings because... the same thing, right? Like he's back to being like on this religious front. There's clearly he sees himself as almost like a martyr figure.
Whole bunch of religious symbolism all over this thing.
And you definitely, with the idea of him being this saint, this leader, this person, and I guess it just builds up. It's quick. It's amazingly powerful. It might be one of my favorite tracks on the album, just for like the throw it on for a minute green. Like if this is easy to listen to as a standalone song.
But the thing is, it's not just easy to listen to because it does take twists and turns, and it does end at a very different place than it started. So it's not just your straightforward cut and dry piece of music. It has layers, it has textures, even lyrically, melodically.
Agreed.
Yeah, I give it a 5.
5.
I'm at this point at this song. I'm getting so bored of this album.
What?
Suck.
Okay, go on. All right,
like,
Jay. Why?
I don't know. It's just like I'm not invested as much as other people would be to this rock opera.
Okay.
I think it is cool. I think if it was put on a motion picture, which you're saying it's going to come out maybe, might be better. But to listen to it in a full playthrough, it's a little too long. There's some songs that are very long. And
This is like the shortest one
I'm
on
not
the
complaining
album.
about the song. I'm just saying at this point, it's like the middle of the CD for me.
All right.
And I'm just like, I'm bored.
Okay.
You gotta. It's unfair right now because we're two super fanboys,
Right.
and you're coming at it from a very like I just listened to this album now and I've got an objective.
But like I've listened to like this is something my friends would give me and I would listen to, and I'm just like, okay, guys, this is if you're interested. I'd be like, that nice friend who would take an interest in what they were in, and I'm like, okay, well that's not for me, but I can tolerate it. And I think Green Day is just they're very whiny. I feel like they forget that they're privileged, and they're trying to they're just privileged people that complain and complain and complain, and they don't really make change. And you want to talk about artists that make change? Like, look at Bono. He's been there since '79. He does something. I hate Bono. I love the South Park thing with the shit.
I
But
think
I
you're
like Green
going
Day.
into a can of worms that it's a side topic. I don't agree with your assessment of Bono entirely. He's making money off of his image. So.
Bono's making mad money, but he's also giving a lot back. He is an advocate. He is he does more.
I just
Billy
like
I
Joe
don't know.
Armstrong has his fair share of activism and stuff under his belt.
I just saying, at 2004, Billy Joel.
I did like
I
I'm saying.
think
It's
okay.
like I don't actually know, but this in and of itself is a statement to politicize issues and raise awareness.
No, that's what I'm saying.
I hear where you're both coming from. You have to remember though that this is a piece of fiction. As much as
I
it's
know.
got a lot of religious symbolism, a lot of
of
lot of political points to make, it's not in the same vein as for example something like Rage Against the Machine.
No, I know what you mean. You're 100% right. But what I'm saying is, at this
But
point,
you're right.
I'm
It
listening
is
to
like
him.
a
and
bunch
I'm-
of.
Yeah, let him finish. Go ahead.
I'm just at this point. It's like I've heard him complain and talk. I'm now, and this is where I'm hoping. It doesn't have to be the climax. It doesn't have to be the focal point. But I'm hoping change comes soon because I'm starting to feel like there's a blender effect now, with the songs.
Okay, I mean, sonically, I don't see it. I feel like they've done a good job of varying the sound song to song. But if you're saying Billy Joe singing,
No,
I'll have to agree with you. On every song, Billy Joe has managed to sound almost the exact same. And I might be enthralled in the story and happen to really like it, but it's almost like
but the premises of the stories are all good. Like, don't get me wrong. If I take down the lyrics and I read them, and as like they were a short story, it's an amazing short story.
Okay.
But maybe the way it's sung, maybe I don't like the beat
I
or
get it.
something.
It's funny too because when this came out, right, a lot of people were accusing Green Day of selling out and going pop and going mainstream. And I listened to this, and I listened to old Green Day, I listened to Nimrod, I listened to Dookie, and I'm like, I'm saying almost the same thing you're saying. This sounds like Green Day. Like, they haven't changed their sound. Yes, they've changed their lyrical approach a little bit. They're putting a little more money into the production.
It sounds like a lot more of like it's like
But
Green Day grew up is a better way to put it. rather than
Sure,
Green Day
but
sold out.
musically, it still sounds like
On the exception of
Green Day.
Mike, who played way simpler bass lines compared to way back in the day. But we can maybe talk about that when discussing another Green Day
Here's a
album to
great
compare
example
against.
about production. So there's a very famous song from a famous rapper. The movie's coming out soon on Blu-ray and DVD. That's my plug for them. All Eyes on Me, the Tupac biofictional film.
Right.
more Tupac movies.
So
It's the same way.
Same one, same
So-
Tupac movies.
at one point he's doing Brenda's Got a Baby, okay?
Right.
And the producer's fixing it so much in editing, and he's there arguing with him. He's like, let me have my nasty voice. Let me have like my rawness, my grit. Sometimes too much production does take away from the song.
Yeah, I don't know that.
I would
in
like to hear it
this
on
case.
an unedited version.
Okay, then go watch the musical. You can watch it on YouTube, stream it.
Or
It's
watch
great.
them do it live
Yeah.
on Bullet in the Bible.
Anyway,
And how does it sound live? Because you've seen them live. How does this song sound
They
live?
sound great live.
Like, does this song sound really better live?
Yeah, well,
oh, this song is charged.
better. I mean, if you're there,
It's great.
it's
not-
different, right? Like, they sound he sounds fine live. His parts sound the same. The guitar sounds a little more fluid, I guess, a little more human. They change the songs a lot too. They extend them. They add they add stuff going
It's
on.
good. You should check it. All right.
But see, that's the importance from live. See, with rock, unlike other, like, that's a beautiful part about rock here. Rock, sometimes it gives you much more flexibility compared to a rap song.
Well, I'm going to say that a proper rapper, and you've seen it all over, will do very different things live. Eminem's an example. Many guys will change instrumentals. They'll come in and do different things in a live. It's just good artists will do
What
that.
did you guys give this song?
We
Thank you.
5.
5.
3.
All right, cool. So
Tupac's alive.
give me
Me
Novacaine.
I can't take this
Didn't give this one a 5.
Oh no.
This is that simple song where he's so stranded, he's just looking for drugs to dull out the pain.
That's it. It's.
There's
I want to
no
be
more
sedated.
to it. There's no more to this.
I mean, it's well written and it fits the story, right? Sort of, because it's like I guess he gets charged as Jimmy, and his first course of action is let's numb the pain, and you just kind of picture him believing almost that he's invented this alter ego while further engaging in the same kind of behavior he's been doing. Maybe he's got some mental issues in the most unoffensive way of saying that. and he's using now maybe more like painkillers as opposed to hallucinogens and speed and stuff to like cope with it and escaping and not feeling, and you almost feel like he's depressed, and it's morose sounding, but this is the first time I'm feeling like you. Like the lyrics and the song, it just doesn't fit right. Like it's almost like the song has too much energy for what they're trying to convey with these lyrics. And like when the power chords and that kicks in for me, it just ruins the vibe. Takes it entirely away from me. Otherwise, it's pretty well made. Like
All the songs are well made.
Compared to normal songs, like there isn't really a bad song on this album. But like compared to the rest of this album, this is where I skip. Like I don't know that when I was younger I listened to Give Me Novacaine a whole lot. When I was like, I would skip it more than I would like play it through because it's kind of bland.
I think you need to be on Novacaine to listen to this song.
It's interesting because when this one came out, I gotta give a shout out to my boy Easy, by the way, because I know this is his favorite song on this album, and he's been listening to American Idiot for as long as we have.
No offense, Easy.
This one's for you, Easy. But no, it's interesting because you guys are saying that this one bored you and what you guys said, but I comparatively to Are We the Waiting and even Boulevard of Broken Dreams, like this one's a little more stripped back, it's a little more naked. And this is a little more what I would have wanted from those songs, because it has a really dreamy quality. It really captures kind of what it's like to be numb and on hallucinogens that I've never done and don't know what it feels like. And I haven't. Painkillers, fine.
It's different than hallucinogens. Not that I know what
it's
I'm
an
talking
opiate.
about. Yeah, which is a painkiller.
So
I'm not gonna deny
it blocks
anything.
receptors of anyway.
It makes you feel very numb, and I think the song captures that beautifully. And it's got that wow, 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 and it's got that really like it's very 60s kind of dreamy high school band playing and lovers are dancing, but like it's all going on inside someone's head kind of thing, and it gets that thematically.
You're right.
I like this song a lot more than you guys, obviously.
It's true. I give it a 4 because it's not bad. It's not. You're right on everything you're saying. It's just I feel like to be fair, even Billy Joe said when they wrote the story to this album, they didn't actually finish the story. So it's basically disjointed, loose plot points where you fill in the gaps. And as much as I can fill in the gaps for this part of the story, it's kind of like it almost feels lazy and redundant, right? Like we've already covered the fact that he's isolated and a few other things. So thematically, it's like it didn't need to be here. In and of itself, we already know he's numb.
But it's almost the real him listening to what the him inside his head is telling him to do and saying and using that as a justification. Right? Jimmy says it's better than air. So I'm my inner persona that I've invented to justify getting away from the world is telling me that I should do drugs to numb the pain that I'm feeling in the real world. So I'm going to do that now.
But like honestly, even without that tone setter, so sure, if its sole purpose is to derive that now Jimmy's in control, okay. But that was what St. Jimmy's for. And he's already been doing drugs. Like it's not like back in his hometown he was doing drugs. So he's already been using it to escape the whole way through. So maybe there's some brilliance in that his epiphany is to do what he's been doing all along, and that's supposed to mean some super significant stuff. I just don't find that this song...
In all honesty, whatever he was doing back at home, I'm pretty sure was reefer.
I know, he says blow and alcohol and whatnot. Like, he does, like, doing someone else's, Anyway... I'm just saying.
The fear of using the word, though. It's in the lyrics.
I understand. Look, it's an AI bot that's... So this is in the middle of this podcast, HSR's theory on how we're getting flagged is that it has an AI bot that recognizes frequency of word. And it really just has a ratio. If it swears too much or if it says too many bad things, it's out. And that's... Why? Because it's AI running it, that it's scary. It's not humans making these... Anyway.
I dig this too, and I give it a 5.
I give it a 4. I think it's worth listening to for the sake of the album-ish, but it's the only one I think you really could have cut it, and it wouldn't have changed the story.
I give it a 2.
All right, cool. And then its counterpart is Somebody Else Make a Pun So I Don't Get Yelled At.
Can't make a counterpart for a bad song.
All right, She's a Rebel.
Yep.
From Chicago to Toronto, she's the one that they call
Heart like a hand grenade. Oh, Jay's not even paying attention. Screw it, I'm keeping it in. So, now he met a girl, and she's amazing. And what's really worth noting for the sake of the story is in his psyche at this point, he meets a girl with a clearly defined personality. She knows who she is, what she represents, and he sees her strength, and like he is completely captivated. But keep in mind that
And she's like a rebel.
simultaneously, he is presenting the character of Saint Jimmy that he's just invented, that has no real substance, that probably looks a lot like what she actually is. You know, it's Green Day. You assume he's a poser punk at this point. And so they meet, and he manages to woo her, and they end up being wooed, and it's cute, and it's like you can almost feel like,
I feel like you're ultra censoring yourself at this point.
no, actually, this is just trying to choose cool words because somebody criticized me for using the word like a lot, so I'm trying not to.
What word?
Like.
Oh, okay.
Anyway. And
Like.
and it was on the Rock one, so he might watch this, and I'm trying to show that I listen.
Like.
And you just get the sense that he's absorbing her personality into his own, and he's not necessarily, he's becoming the reflection of what she wants in order to ensure he can have this thing that he wants, is the sense I got from it. I think the energy is great. It like brings some life back in, and it's cute, and it's fun, and it's a 5-on-5. It is really good.
Jay.
She's a rebel, like Rebel Wilson, man. What can I say?
Jay's like, I just showed up to throw in a couple words at the end.
No, I just I'm really not liking the CD at this point.
Okay.
I just don't care about the story anymore. It's just hard. Like I get it. If you look at it in a standpoint, fine. He's the Jesus of Suburbia. Is this his Mary?
Okay. You guess?
I guess so.
Symbolism.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to think of. That's the only thing I got from this. I'm like, okay, let's figure it out.
But he's no longer the Jesus of Suburbia.
No,
he's
but she's
Jimmy.
gonna be the thing to bring him back. That's what it is. We all know what the story is. It's a simple story.
Yeah.
And then there's there's an ending. Don't worry. Yeah.
Don't worry. I think you're a little skewing it. Anyway,
So musically, Green Day.
Like
Sounds like Green Day.
it's good.
like
It's good. It's a good song.
It's
doesn't do too much.
It does a lot.
It does a few things.
this
Side.
is bad.
I like the song is catchy, the chorus is catchy, the hook is catchy. I feel like this is the first time in this episode that I've really been able to just like sit and talk about the music and not go on these like grand concepts of like politics and like where it stands historically and
Relax
totally
yourselves.
like a thing
relax
about
yourself. I'm not doing that in this episode. Be nice.
so like I think like I give this song like a 4.
I give the
Okay.
song like a 2.5.
I don't like either of you.
It's okay.
You don't what? Either of us?
You guys are not an extraordinary girl.
In an ordinary world, and she can't see.
We find ourselves. Saint Jimmy has fallen in love.
And the relationship sucks.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at. This is just for the story's sake. Boy meets girl in the last song. Everything's great. Boy's fake. She real. She doesn't have time for his shenanigans. His world kind of like, obviously it's not good. You can see moments of turbulence as the song goes on. And I think he like puts her on a pedestal and he praises her and he copies what she is, her essence of who she is. And she has no tolerance for how fake and how insincere he ends up being at the end of the day.
He's like every single person who gets in a really bad situation and they find someone who gives them a little bit of attention and fall in love with them because they're hoping that they could be their savior instead of fixing their own problems.
I think we just said the same thing with different words, my
Yes, we
friend.
did.
And Syd?
Like Sid?
You know, it's interesting because I've been listening. You know, I've always put this album on kind of a pedestal, comparatively, when talking about rock, when talking about pop, punk. This album is, you know, I said it about Jesus of Suburbia. It's the bar to which I measure long songs, and this is almost the bar to which I measure pop punk music, punk rock.
This song?
This particular song?
This album.
Okay.
But now that I'm listening back to it, there are definitely a few songs that as an adult and as a reviewer and as someone has listened to a bunch, you know, thousands, countless bands, seen countless shows since, there are songs that I'm finding that are almost, you know, not quite forgettable, but
This is a forgettable
almost
song.
I
B-side
would say
worthy,
this is a
and
forgettable, skippable song.
This one, and I mean, you know, it's not as perfect as I once thought. The intro, while it's cool, they do there's a little hand drum intro with kind of like
It's
a
just
little
so out
Middle
of
Eastern. It's
place.
really out of place on this album.
It's so my only thoughts like towards that is trying to allude that time has passed and the vibe and the situation's changed. And
Fair enough.
Maybe, and that's me stretching because I was puzzling over that exact. Why is this here?
And there was another very, very political punk rock album that came out around this time called Kazaya. It came out a little bit after this album by a band called Protest the Hero. And it's not as well publicized, it's not as well known. They're a Canadian band. It's punk metal. It's very heavy. It's very, very different from this. But they did these same kind of little interludes between the songs, and it worked a lot better on that album than I think it does on this one. So the intro doesn't really fit, I don't think. The song, while catchy, is not. It doesn't blow up my brain the way I think a classic track should. I'm gonna give this one a 3.5. It's.
I give it a 4. I did. I
Okay.
think that, like, for all terms and purposes, you've also heard a lot of music that came after this that's probably better than this. That in hindsight makes it seem a little dated or a little old. But at the time, it still stands out compared to a lot of what was coming out around it. And on the album, it does really serve its purpose to move the story along. It is a little bit of one of those essential things. It's just, now we've gone from all the cool part of the movie to this sappy, lovey, like, subplot. And it is a little harder, I guess, to get engaged in his teeny drama relationship, because for this part of the album, I am way past that. Other parts of it, you can find relatability as a grown-up, but I mean, I'm certain there's lots of grown-ups who have bad relationships, but in my case, I have no empathy with where he's at anymore. It's more like remembering 10 years ago. So 4, because it's good, but it is kind of only good in the album.
Give it 1.5.
1.5?
You're gonna have to justify that one.
A little
I don't
bit.
have to. I just think it's been done so many times, this song. It's been done by many artists. I think it's a completely skippable song. Yeah, if I didn't know this was a rock opera, I for sure would. If I could chuck this as an album, like chuck this as a physical entity, I would throw this out. I would abort this. I would kick it off the mountain like Spartans do.
Oh boy. Okay. All right. I guess we're not going to get any better with the next track, Letterb. Out he gets the breakup letter, and I didn't even know this. My whole life I didn't know until like literally today when it clicked that this is her talking to him in a letter,
It's a letter bam.
calling him out on everything that was wrong. Like, you're not even the Jesus of Suburbia, and you're not even St. Jimmy. So if there was any question as to if it was 2 people or 1, Letterb pretty much answers the question and shows it's the same guy, and his personalities or how he chooses to present himself.
And then she says it made you the idiot America that you never wanted to be.
It's true, and I think that happens a lot.
Letterb.
In
And
every
then-
relationship, you pretend you put on a fake
Well,
image.
no,
That's
I've
it.
had a couple of relationships. Like, I can think of the particular girl in my life who would have filled that role, per se, at that age and all that stuff. And I like this one thematically. I like the idea behind the song a lot, and it does serve the album really well. And I like it a lot more than Extraordinary Girl.
Yeah. You know what's really, really cool about this one? And you guys know I don't talk about lyrics too often. That's really,
That's what I
that's
do.
that's your area of expertise. When it comes to us reviewing, I like to focus more on the music.
That's why
But
you're
as
here, buddy.
because thank you for justifying my existence. But because when I was a teenager, all I cared about was lyrics, and that's why I didn't listen to anything on pop radio when I was
for this
14
song,
and
for the CD.
but like pop radio, like I wasn't listening to
This-
like
this was probably
like
Shania
Kylie
Twain.
Minogue. Hey, Shania Twain is good, sir.
Shania
She's
Twain is
hot.
fucking
Excuse me?
effing awesome.
She's
I
hot.
apologize.
Relax.
Shania Twain is
is
hot.
quite awesome,
fine.
and I
Tangent.
love her. I love her music now. What I'm saying is, the line, she says, "I can't take this town, I'm leaving it behind." She says, "I can't take this place, I'm leaving you tonight." That boils down, just out of the context of the story, that boils down what every end of a relationship, that's really the reason why. It's like, I can't take everything because you're in it, and I need to get out of this place in my life.
He is so self-destructive that his world is now burning down around him because he's reckless, right? Think about it. He's not working. He's not living. He's leeching. I think it even mentions he's taking welfare or unemployment or welfare checks every month. He just sits there and doesn't work. He's loafing on the couch. He's no longer the leader he was supposed to be.
That's it. Where have all the riots gone? Where is the person that I found who was supposed to change things, who was supposed to be
Where's the
active
fire?
and
and then now it's like, oh look, you are the problem, and it's pretty great, and it really
he became what he hated.
Exactly. And it's a good epiphany because in my opinion, most dudes who are complete degenerates tend to change their lives when the girl leaves them.
That's very true. My
And this is that girl that was that significant enough that when she bounced out, it changes some stuff, right? And so here she leaves, and he's sad, and he probably doesn't fully get the story yet. But I thought this song was really a step up. I give it a 4.5. It's really well constructed, but it's by no means perfect.
I give this song a 5, man. It's full of hooks. This is one of my favorite songs on the album, hands down. I
get it.
No, but I think that it's really tight. There aren't any sections that really, it moves fluidly. There's not really a chorus. I mean, there is, but it happens kind of twice, and it's a little different.
I feel like it lacks the distinction of some of the earlier half of the album has. We've now kind of, between Give Me Novacaine, Extraordinary Girl, and Letterb, you're kind of all in the same realm now of general similar sounds and tones and stuff. She's a Rebel is a little more poppy and upbeat and doesn't fit that, but this has always been my problem. I feel like this is a slump in the album where everything kind of feels the same before what comes next comes. And
I mean, I
Letterb
disagree.
is just the best version of those other two songs in terms of the sound.
I disagree, but it's okay to be wrong.
Oh, wow.
It's all right. And Jay?
Okay, so I give it a 3.
Right.
It was a more fun song, but I think it's been overdone by everybody in the world. It's just, I like that we got to see a person's point of view of the main character of the movie or show or opera or whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
That was pretty cool, though. And I like the fact that she's calling him out on everything. So that really, because I was like, you know what I kind of liked, though? What Green Day did was, I don't think they did this on purpose. So they kind of make you hate the character because eventually you make them.
I think that was a little bit. That was deliberate.
But
very
I mean
deliberate
it
thing.
with their music. Eventually I'm getting tired of the CD at this point.
Okay,
Okay,
his
I don't
version
know
of
about
it.
that.
They
But he's-
deliberately made you hate this character in the sense of a story of a protagonist.
He's meant to be a tragic hero, right? He's meant to be a downfall. This isn't a happy tale.
Exactly.
It's a tale of a broken character.
It's a
by
tale
the
of
end the
every
story.
single small
to
small
quote a
country boy
future
that come into
song,
the future
it's a
and,
tale of another broken home.
Yeah.
To quote the future of the album.
And I mean, we have 3 songs left. I'm getting tired. I'm gonna take a nap. Wake me up when September ends.
When September ends.
So this song actually, from when I was doing some research and learning about it, it doesn't actually have to do anything with Jesus of Suburbia.
No,
Billy
it's a very
Joe-
personal song.
Yeah, and
I'm gonna dispute that after. Go
so
on.
Billy Joel wrote this, and it's come from a live experience where he was at his father's funeral, and his father passed away with cancer, and he ran home after the funeral and locked himself inside his room, and he was crying and crying, and he says the line, "Wake me up when September ends," because his father passed away in September, and he wants to forget this month, and he's writing this song, and it's full of emotion. It's the first time in this whole CD that I'm connecting to him because I feel like the pain. It doesn't feel so edited where it's perfect. You feel the torment, the sorrow, everything. This is what I'm looking for in a song. I actually enjoy this. To me, this is my 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can see why you feel that way. I just have to throw this out there
Go on.
because it's killing me. I don't think it was deliberate because Billy Joe said what he said. That was a direct quote from Billy. But if you think about the story of this album, when a girl dumps you and you sit in there in the depths of despair, that is when I have most related to Wake Me Up When September Ends,
Okay,
is
at
when
that
I'm
point, yeah.
heartbroken. And considering what comes next thematically in the story, it just makes sense that right after losing the girl that you're in love with and defined your personality, that you'd want to go back to that place of just wanting to spend a month sleeping and wake me up. It's growth, right? Like he's not necessarily turning to drugs or the things he's done in the past. He's instead just, like sleeping away, hiding, just disappearing for a month because he's broken.
Yeah.
And I think it fits perfectly in the story, and I think it is everything Jay said. It's a truly powerful, emotional explosion of experience delivered with, like, here Billy Joe does sing a little bit more powerfully and more distinctly than the rest of the album.
Another thing about his singing, though, his singing is kind of like, it's not really singing, it's kind of like slow talking. Sometimes I feel.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah.
I
feel like anyone can do it at this point.
I don't know about that. It's better than you think. Go on.
This song is, again, what I remember. I mentioned back at Boulevard of Broken Dreams. Remember when we did Boulevard of Broken Dreams?
Yeah,
all those years ago. But I mentioned that it wasn't quite what I wanted out of a power ballad, and this is it. This is it. This is what, this is the naked, raw sadness and pain. Like, you feel like it's raining every time this song comes on. And not just because there's a rain effect happening on the actual track, but you feel the despair, just the bleakness that happens for any kind of emotional trauma. It doesn't have to be the death of a family member. It could be a breakup, which it is in the context of the story. It could be just a friend who you've gotten into a fight with, a really close friend that's refusing to talk to you now, and you're just like, I don't want to see the world right now. I just want to hide in my room and just wake me up when the month is over.
I've had that moment multiple times in my life.
Yeah.
Often it works out to be November for me, but
wake me up when November ends.
It could work.
And the chord progression isn't like a dark chord progression. It's very melancholy. It's very simple. Any 13-year-old could pick up a guitar and play this song.
But it builds eloquently.
It builds very, very well. You feel the build every time. It was overplayed like the rest of this album's when it was, every single was on the radio 16 times a day. No, but this one was
overplayed more than all the other ones.
Oh yeah.
And again, the music video was a little bit
Did it come out
on the head for the guy going to war and the whole
it was, and then it was cut with like minute long.
Yeah, they really went a little too far on the music videos for this album, I think. But the song itself stands the test of time as a real, honest to goodness display of pain and sadness. This one gets a 5.
I give it a 4.5. Because I understand everything you're saying and don't disagree with you in what you're saying, but
I'm not giving it a 5 though.
I find it kind of drags on. The ending of the song is draggy, and I get what it's supposed to be, but for me, it isn't. Like something like Boulevard of Broken Dreams almost has more variety in terms of lyrics,
right?
But
and ideas being presented. And I know that they're not the same thing, but I want something more like that out of my ballad than I want something like this. Even though you're right, and technically it's probably a better song, from my point of view. I find it a little more on the boring side after listening to it as much as it did.
The difference that I can see, and I think which kind of relates to where you're coming from too, is Boulevard of Broken Dreams in terms of the fiction is very much trying a lot harder to be clever, and that's where I think the cheese comes from for me. So yes, it is more lyrically varied and probably more interesting in terms of the phrasing and the choices of words and the choice. But this song is so much more honest because it really is coming from that real place. Like My Father's Come to Pass, 20 years has gone so fast. It's just there. It's just, this is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about pain. I'm talking about...
I mean, again, I'm going to give it a 4.5. We're not talking about giving it a bad mark.
Dude, why do you hate this song?
Anyway.
It's all about the homecoming, man.
What the hell's your name?
Apparently this song
this song is derived from a jam session upon which they were just writing little pieces of songs to try to outdo themselves.
I hate you so much.
And then I know what you were gonna say. I knew what you just Googled it and saw it.
Yes,
and then they they got to a point where they realized they couldn't use any of these snippets of songs as like an actual thing on their own because they were kind of disjointed. So they melded it into an experience. It was I believe the first thing they actually did for the album. Then it kind of led into what turned into Jesus of Suburbia, and spawning the overall concept was messing around in a jam session trying to show off with each other. So on this song, uniquely, we have multiple vocalists appearing where each band member who sings wrote the part they sang, mostly Billy, But then Mike and Trey show up as well with
Right.
some stuff. And then, it plays out a full other story, but like the opposite of Jesus of Suburbia, whereas that builds you up. This is like almost like the end of the main part of the story. And, it starts off with like him killing off the character of St. Jimmy. That's my favorite part of this song.
Yeah,
It
the straight up
builds up.
suicide of this guy in his head.
You know, my favorite part of the song is the 9th minute.
All right, perfect. So we know your feelings. And it's like, whatever. So he kills off St. Jimmy. And then it transitions, right, into him getting a job and being so bored and aimlessly just disinterested in, like, the situation of going to work every day and how awful that is. And he just wants to escape and runs away. And then, he realizes nobody really likes him here. And he's just roaming around and everything's kind of messed up. And his world isn't really functioning still. He's going to work. He's doing it right. And he still feels all of this. And then apparently Rock and Roll Girlfriend is like a letter from his buddy who's kind of like, hey, look, I'm doing great now because I sobered up. Check it. Don't judge me. And then the last part is I'm going home because this is all crap. And he returns back to the same little town that he left from in the beginning. And look, my only real criticism of the song, because I love it. This is amazing. It flows beautifully. But I can't stand the 2 minutes of home. I'm coming home again.
Really? Even with the whole
Yeah, I can't stand
screaming and
that's
I
it. That
started
part
effing running as soon
it's
as
fine.
my feet touched.
But I do like the way it ends at the very last lines is good. Like when I can't remember what it says now.
I fell asleep.
Yeah, all of that stuff is great. It's just that 2 minutes of home, we're coming home again doesn't do it for me. But the rest of the song really is clever. I'll let you really cover, I guess, the musical transitions, but lyrically it's clever. The story really, it's the climax. It's like, It's the moment of awakening after a bunch of burnout stuff and like the mature decision. But I don't know. It's deep. It's got levels to it. Thematically goes all over the place. I enjoy this track. I do think Rock and Roll Girlfriend's a bit weird, but it fits. And I give this a 4.5. I think it wouldn't be this album without this track. And the fact that they didn't just pull off one 9-minute song, they pulled off 2 successfully interesting tracks that are hard to skip any part of. For me, at least, I know what you're gonna say. It's truly wonderful. I like it.
Jay.
Why are you coming to me? No,
You
you.
asked to go in the middle.
in
between Jay. So can I just go in the middle?
I said that before.
It's a compliment sandwich.
No, I see him.
It's a compliment sandwich because he's
maybe
gonna.
I want the negative side at the end.
Okay, just say it, Jay.
But then it's just
Actually-
bread meat. You're the meat, man.
You're
We
the
gotta
meat.
put you in the
I
middle.
don't want to be the man meat. in
Okay,
between
just
your
go on.
buns.
Go on. What do you feel?
Actually enjoyed it. It was interesting. It was
Well, then
it was a bit longer than I wanted it, but that's because I'm not a big fan of these 9-minute songs. Like, I understand now after talking to these guys and listening to them. They explained it to me a bit better, and I liked it. It just could have been done a bit faster. That's it.
I don't know that it could have been. But...
It really could. This song could have been done in probably 5 minutes.
Okay.
Thematically, it works very, very well.
Thank you.
The way did I cut you off?
No, I said thank you.
Okay.
Okay, go on. Go on. We're almost done, guys.
So at the end of Jesus of Suburbia, he's leaving home. At the end of this song, he's coming back home. Second song, second to last song. In terms of the story, it closes things off perfectly. I disagree with Holden. I think the ending is awesome. To me, Jesus of Suburbia is the perfect 9-minute song. This one isn't quite as perfect. I mean, I love the way it starts off. It's got this like garage rock, blues rock riff coming in, and it's super fast. And then you feel how bored he is working in his office job after his little character inside his head shot himself. Sadness, a fictional character inside a fictional story inside a fictional character died.
Inception.
Super Inception. I love Mike Dirnt's part in the middle. I love Nobody Likes You.
Yep.
I love that whole thing.
Especially because, honestly, Mike is the least popular guy in that group by far.
I disagree. I think his bass lines on every album have been
Yeah.
very, very,
Yeah,
very
sure.
important for young bassists learning how to play bass.
Agreed, but in the world, he's probably the lame one.
Fine, I don't think Trey's. As much as I love
Trey
rock and roll,
Cool
I
is
got a
way
rock and
cool.
roll band.
Yeah,
I
he's
got
not a
rock and roll
singer.
life.
This
No,
is-
it's not. I'm not making fun of the vocals. I'm making fun of the whole. It's silly.
Seems like you're
It's
making fun of
so
everything.
out of context, and I get that there is.
I'm not
a
talking
context.
about like in this song. I'm talking about in real life. I think Trey Cool is cooler than Mike.
Fine, but in terms of the song, I think that part could have been cut. It could have been a
You're
7-minute song. It would
You're
have.
probably right, but I kind of like it Because I think in the story, it has its little purpose of a tone setter, being like, and on top of everything else, dude, sober up.
All right.
Because he specifically has, like, I haven't
Fine.
had a smoke or drank in 22 days, and I
So
feel
get off
fine.
on my face. Off
Right.
on my case. But
Yeah.
I still feel like it's a forced context. It's not a natural context. Like, it needed to be the mirror to Jesus of Suburbia, so they needed to make it 9 minutes as opposed to having it really feel like it should have been that. So, look,
Well, to
again,
be fair, this came first, so it's almost like Jesus Suburbia is the perfected version of this.
Okay, so, and from that point of view, stills, though.
Yeah,
Know what I mean, though?
I get
Stills,
you,
though?
I get you, I get you.
This
4.5.
is 4.5.
And you?
I give it a 3.
All right, one more. Is everyone excited to talk about good old Whatshername?
Nope.
And then I took a different path.
So this song's about Amanda Bynes.
It's not Amanda Bynes.
I'm just making a really bad joke.
So anyway, yeah, Billy Joe said in a tweet that this and 2 other Green Day songs are about this chick named Amanda.
It's really blown.
That was like back in the day. He knew her, I guess, because this whole song is like, you just get the feeling like it's like a whole bunch of time has passed. Like you just get that like
It's-
epilogue scene in the movie.
It's every single relationship at the end after years, and you had that really magical relationship that turned into a really ugly breakup.
And then
You're always wondering what happened.
And that's it. He's just wondering, but he can't remember her name anymore.
So what's her
and
name?
Just her face, and he kind of just pictures what's happening. Like,
She was good.
and it's
doing
kind of
that.
like it's the girl, obviously, from earlier in this album that like left him,
Mhm.
and he's just thinking back. And but you almost picture like his life is normal now. He's moved on. Hell, he might even be married with kids or something. And he's just wondering
I'm
about what
missing
once was
when he was
as he's
young.
just walking down the street. But everything's so calm. Everything's so like normal now, and it almost like shows. I feel like the music's a little blander, right? It's a little like to me. It's a little more boring almost.
I agree with that.
It's just like it is what it is. It's just like they didn't have to actually have this song here, but it was just like a nice way to end things as opposed to because it could have ended on Homecoming. And that would have been an epic end to this album.
That's
But
actually
then
true.
they added this song here to just maybe let you know that everything's okay at the end of the day. But like,
I really okay. So there's a couple of songs that I really feel capture perfectly into the emotion that they're going for. And Wake Me Up When September Ends is one of them. Holiday is one of them. American Idiot is one of them. This one, it really captures the essence of like seeing something that sparks a memory that you haven't thought about in a long time, and having it kind of it's at first it's like, oh hey, that's cool, and then it snowballs into this like all of these emotions are coming out, and the song has a really heavy ending, and it's remember what like it goes through the music builds and the lyrics build, and there's vocals on top of vocals on top of vocals, and all these thoughts that are happening inside the head, all from this one little moment of thinking you saw someone that you knew a long time ago, and then realizing that it was an illusion, or it was a dream, or whatever, and then just like it builds and builds from there. So I really feel like it captures that perfectly. I give this one a 5.
like you're not wrong on anything that you're saying. It's just
But you're
that
wrong.
it didn't need to be here for the story. Like when I look at it like this is a story, this feels like a forced ending after you just had a great ending.
This is the
This
credits.
is like
Well, this is
that
the
Lord of
epilogue,
the
right?
Rings movie that just didn't end, and you just kept expecting an ending to happen, and then something else would happen
This is
after
the
some
ending
time
credits.
has passed. And
It's like a Marvel movie. After
yeah,
the end
this
of
is
the movie,
the end.
Homecoming's the end, and this is just like some added point. 30
But-
years later,
But
he's
for
sitting
me
down
on an
looking at a
album
picture.
like this, I don't see. Whereas I understand why all the other songs
It's
are
pretty much
there,
every Killer song.
even the one there, "Give Me Novacaine," which I felt could have not been there. This one really didn't need to be here. If anything, this could have been the start of like part 2 to the album.
Could have
Like,
been a bonus.
it could have been
I
something
guess,
interesting.
but I mean, if you look at story structure, right? It's you've got your introduction, your rising action, your tension, your climax, which is Homecoming, and then you're coming down, your epilogue, your denouement. That's what
But-
this song is. This
but
needs to be there in terms of just the structure of a story,
I guess
and
maybe,
I think it does it really,
But they
really
could
well.
have done another, like, it's just such a cheap moment to like jump to. It's like you
It's
get
forced.
home and what happens? I don't know. Now we're just in the future and take a guess. Figure it out yourself. That's kind of what I'm left with here.
Go
So
see
it's,
the movie. Go see the musical.
Right.
Spend more money on Green Day.
that's it. So I feel like it's a dissatisfying ending, albeit it's not a bad song, but it's not a great song. It's a 4. To me, it's like there are definitely
3.
whatever.
Tell
So
us how
yeah.
you really feel, Jay.
No, it's pretty much he said the same thing. It's like this could have been not in the CD. It could have been whatever. I wouldn't even cared. And like I disagree with the way he said it. I say this is like another thing to add to the CD, and it's like the ending credits. It's like now we have like a bit of closure. He's at home. He could either have kids or not, or maybe he's completely, he's living that 9 to 5 with nobody in his life, sipping his.
But like you're left to just speculate. There's no conclusion.
But
it's to be continued.
Fair enough.
Ish.
But I mean, ultimately this is a love story, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, this album is a love story, and it's a tragic love story because the lovers don't end up together
Romeo and
because one of them screws it up, and it's very much. I was going to say Romeo and Juliet because
I'm gonna disagree with that statement that at the end of the day this is a love story. No, at the end of the day this is a story of self-discovery about leaving home and coming back again, and in the middle of that is a love story, and they just chose to end it on that note.
Or maybe it's both.
I think it's a significant part of the story, and if there is something to look back on of that time that's fond, it would have been that portion.
But if he never would have gotten that letter and then being called out, if she would have just ended, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore, bye. If she didn't leave the letter bomb,
yeah,
and gave all that, and we wouldn't have this story.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you bring up Romeo and Juliet because that story also ends with a sonnet by someone who is not one of the main characters. Because both of the main characters are dead at the end of Romeo and Juliet. Sorry, spoilers for those of you who haven't read this 300-year-old play.
Right.
But
Spoiler.
and I think that this is a very Shakespearean way. I'm not, Green Day is Shakespeare.
No, I understand.
Poets of our time. But
But
it's a very theatrical way for them to end the story, and I think it works perfectly on that basis. And again, I love the song too.
I give
it a 5.
5, 4, 3. That was our
2,
grades.
1.
Anyway, so that's the end of this album. There were bonus tracks. I don't think they count because I didn't know they existed until later.
Me too.
Like they weren't on the CD. We discussed owning it and stuff. For me, this album is like possibly one of the highest grades I've ever given. Actually, since we started this, it's a 4.69. It is very almost without flaw, beginning to end. There's no bad songs. It is. I honestly want to go see the musical, and I would give them the extra money because this is a truly remarkable part of our culture. That it's a really interesting capturing of privileged white kids, as you pointed out. It is. It's the story. Like I was describing this. This is like the white privileged counterpart to something like Good Kid, Mad City by Kendrick Lamar. It is exactly that, and I think it captures it really well.
Yeah, I give the album a 4.5 because again, this is one of my favorite albums personally, still to this day. It hasn't lost any of its relevance. It hasn't lost any of its poignancy.
That's true.
I gave it a 3.15.
Okay.
Just because I wanted to give 1.5.
Legalize sensu beans.
Yes.
All right. So
Sensu beans is a recovery tool.
Cool. So we've reached the end. If you enjoyed this podcast, like the video, please.
And we'll be back next week.
Subscribe to the channel. Let us know what other classic albums you care about.
We will listen.
We'll be back next week.
We're doing what next week?
Foo Fighters!
The king of rock and roll, Mr. Dave Grohl.
Yeah.
You're a horrible person.
All right. Anyway, take care, everyone.
Love you.
Peace.
Bye.
Free ABBA!